Joining us for more is the Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Schools in Yobe State, Associate Professor Abba Idris Adam, who joins us from Damaturu, the state capital. Thank you for joining us, Professor Adam, on the program.
Thank you and good evening.
And let's start with the back to school initiative. How effective has it been in reducing the number of out-of-school children?
Well, this is initiative actually initiated by His Excellency Honorable Maimala Boni in his second term in office in the last 2 years. This initiative has actually identified that we are having a high number of out-of-school children as a result of Boko Haram insurgency that has displaced most of them. That's why His Excellency has created the initiative in order to take these communities back to their hometown and then make sure that these students or these children that are roaming the street have been taken back to school. That is why if you look at the statistic, you realize that the impact has been so enormous. For example, based on the National Bureau of Statistics, Yobe State is having about 4.3 million population. An estimated percentage of school-age children in the state is about 26%. That is about 1.1 million. And then the actual enrollment in formal school is about 63%. That is representing about 738,000, while the enrollment in Almajiri and Sangaya school is about 15.5%. That is representing about 180,000. So the percentage of out-of-school children as of today is just 21.29%, which is representing about 248,000, 247,230, as against the number given by the National Bureau of Statistics in their 2020, which was about 427,000. So you can see how the number of out-of-school children is drastically reducing due to this initiative initiated by His Excellency.
So let's go to outcomes now in the areas of teacher recruitment. What numbers can you give us in the ongoing recruitment exercise? And what are the outcomes also in teacher-student ratio?
Actually, the recruitment exercise was divided into 3 phases. Phase number 1 took place last year, where 1,200 teachers were recruited. And this year, the second phase is also targeting 1,200, but so far 600 teachers has already been recruited, and the training is going on. We are not just recruiting them, even though we know that after the process through which these teachers are recruited is a rigorous process that a teacher must obtain the minimum teaching qualification. And then after the recruitment, before we send them to class, we give them a workshop on teacher quality and teaching method, classroom control, and teaching methodology. This will give them enough experience to handle students in class. Our target is to at least have at least 35 students per teacher in a class, which we are almost about to have, God willing.
What do you currently have?
We currently have about 50 to 55%. Yeah, 50 to 55% per teacher. And that is why the initiative to make sure that we recruit more teachers is going on. Our target is to at least have 35 teachers, 35 students per teacher. And this is going on. We are in the second phase. And by the time we finish this third phase, this target will be achieved.
Well, it's an important question because if you consider 1,200 teachers to over 765,000 students, that would be perhaps one teacher to about 700 students. But you have the numbers and you can verify. Lastly, before we go, how is the government addressing the shortage of digital infrastructure in rural schools, which is critical to aligning the students' learning experience with the new technological age?
Well, before I answer this, let me go back to 1,000 that I mentioned. This 1,000 is the new recruitment. We already have existing ones. So in the last year, we recruited 1,200. In this year, 1,200. We have already recruited 6 out of this 1,000. Another 1,200 will be recruited next year. Providing facilities, ICT facilities in the rural area, we know the importance of ICT facilities, particularly to schools. However, there are so many challenges that are surrounding this activity. Number one, shortage, almost lack of electricity in rural areas. Most of the rural areas where we want to take these ICT facilities, they lack electricity. However, in order to address this, His Excellency Honorable Mai Malabuni has signed MOU with Rural Electrification Agency in order to provide power, solar power to our rural schools. And some of the companies have already started moving to the site. Second challenge we are facing is poor internet connectivity. Sometimes you have a very good program that you want to present, but because of poor internet connectivity, you have some challenges. Sometimes these facilities that we are moving with cannot, ordinary modem or hotspot cannot provide the required internet service to them. That is why we are now resorting to having a kind of offline facilities where we can, record and download whatever we want so that it can be operated online. The third challenge we are facing is shortage of the facilities. It is important that each and every child in school has a computer or a laptop. However, because we cannot provide this to each and every student, what we are doing, we are establishing computer laboratory where students take shift. In the morning, some students will go and have their practical. In the afternoon, others will go, and then others will go in the evening. Another critical challenge that we are facing is the lack of technical skills. Most of these ICT experts, if you want to take them to rural areas, they'll just give you some excuses. No, I cannot go to rural area because they prefer to stay in town where they will be getting much money compared to the rural areas. That is why what we are now doing is taking people from the rural community and train them
All
so
right.
that when we send them back, they are going back to their
All
homeland
right.
in order to make sure they contribute.
All right. We must thank you very much for your time and your thoughts on the program. We've been talking with the Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education in Yobe State, Professor Abba Idris Adam. Thank you for coming through on this conversation.
Thank you so much.